that's okay. We can start off with the Sergeant at Arms with Mafazor.
Thank you. Thank you, Louis. Thank you, Nick. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and our guest today. This is the meeting of online presenters has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be the member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International or have completed at least 6 speeches from either the traditional or pathway programs, or you have substantial experience in presentation and demonstrated 3 to 5 minutes speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are being subject to board's approval. All attendees, other than our judges today, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role, if you have any. So if you right click on your name, you should be able to do that. We have members and often guests from many different countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask, please be aware of the language or the word uses that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to the cultural differences. Please note, we will be using your recording for this meeting, and your video or audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please meet your lines if you're not speaking. Today is an exciting day. It's our evaluation day, and it's an evaluation contest. Let's please welcome our club president, none other than Mr. Nick Lacani.
Thank you very much, Mafazor, Sergeant at Arms for the day, and welcome to online presenters. Today is a very special day. We have our evaluation contest. Now, this evaluation contest is going to go for the winner of this contest, or in fact, the winner and the second place are going to go forward to another event. And that's what makes it even more exciting than our normal contest that we have 4 times a year now. I'm really glad, I'm really happy to welcome our contest chair for the day. Please give for a very, very big hand for Lucas Califel.
Thank you. The purposes of the evaluation contest are to provide an opportunity to learn by observing the more proficient speakers who have benefited from their Toastmasters training, and to recognize the best as encouragement to all. In accordance with Toastmasters rules, we request that you remain muted and turn off your webcams for the duration of this contest. There will be no public chats during the contest. Now I'd like to welcome our Chief Judge, Dr. Michael Alexander, to provide an overview of the contest rules.
Thank you very much, Lucas. Welcome everybody here. Welcome to the Online Presenters Contest. We're looking forward here to a good contest, and oh dear, I seem to have lost my prepared remarks. So I'm going to be spontaneous, which is particularly annoying because Lucas did all that work to make sure that I had the prepared remarks properly. Just goes to show, Lucas, I'm completely uncontrollable. This is going to be a basic online contest. It'll be similar to the brick and mortar face-to-face contest you've had in the past, with a few exceptions. We will be presented with a prepared speech for 5 to 7 minutes, during which everyone should be silent. And at the end of that, the contestants will be moved to a separate room for the evaluators to spend 5 minutes making their prepared notes. And the rest of us will stay here and can do whatever the contest master feels appropriate. At the end of those 5 minutes, the first of the evaluation contestants will come in and everybody else will stop making notes. And we will go one by one through the whole process. In the event that there's a technical problem, If it's simply a false start, we will let you proceed again. But if there is a break partway through, you will be given a short period of time to fix that. I believe Lucas has instructed you on that one. If you cannot fix it, then we're going to have to disqualify you. If there's a second technical problem, we'll have to pull you out. But again, you've received instructions on that score. And at the end of the contest, the judges will withdraw to a separate room and give you a good, fair shake at what you've done. And we'll come back and announce the results. Back to you, Lucas.
Thank you, Chief Judge.
Just as one small comment, if anyone has a technical problem and needs to talk to me, send me a WhatsApp message. I believe Lucas has again told you about that. Do not try to send me a chat. It's too public. Do not send me an email. It's too slow. Let me know as soon as possible, however. Thank you. Now, Lucas, I apologize for the interruption.
No problem. Thank you, Chief Judge. The speaking order has been selected at random, and the order is contestant number 1, Susan Hewitt. Contestant number 2, Pamela Benjamin. Contestant number 3, Elizanne Warren-Russell. Contestant 4, Andriy Smolenko. Contestant 5, Roxanne Hosein. Contestant 6, Lou Brown. Contestant 7, Ginette François. Contestant 8, Jim Barber. Contestant 9, Carl Walsh. There will be 1 minute of silence between contestants for the judges to mark their ballots. There will be no speaking during this time. At the conclusion of the contest, the ballot counters will collect the judges' ballots and the timers will deliver their reports to the Chief Judge. Now, let's hear from our test speaker. Can you say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Haven, can you give us a quick mic check, although you just did?
Sure. Can everybody hear me all right? We have testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing.
Okay, I can hear you, and I think everybody else can. Are you satisfied with the framing of your video?
I believe so. Does it seem okay to you guys?
It looks fine to me. Can you see the timer? The timer is Graham Carnes.
Graham Carnes.
This is timer number 1.
It'll be the Toastmasters logo with a black background is my image.
Okay, yes, I see him.
Okay, feel free to pin Graham. And as a courtesy, he will provide you with the timing cues: green at 5, yellow at 6, red at 7. Okay.
Excellent.
Haven Tristan Hash. The case for Mars, Haven Tristan Hash.
It was known as Seward's Folly. $7.2 million for a giant block of ice, as they said. And for what? This was the price paid by the United States to Russia in 1867 for the present-day state of Alaska. Taking into consideration the rate of inflation over the last century and a half that had transpired, we have an amount of $125 million. $125 million is less than the daily contribution of the state of Alaska to the US GDP. Each and every single day, Alaska more than pays for the entire cost of its purchase. In the year 1492, the Catholic kings finished expulsing the Moors from the Iberian Peninsula after 700 years. Also, in the year 1492, England and France signed a peace treaty that ended the English invasion of the French homeland. As well, in 1492, the Borgias took over the papacy with the ascension of Alexander XI to be the new pope of the Catholic Church. If there had been newspapers in 1492, these would have been the headlines. However, you would be hard-pressed to find a single American child who could, off the top of their head, tell you about a single one of these aforementioned events. Likewise, it is with great repetition that we constantly hear the songs, the rhymes, and the repeated iterations of how Christopher Columbus in 1492 sailed the ocean blue to make contact with the New World. These examples demonstrate the immense power of long-term thinking. Like a compound interest, it can produce exponential results. Effects that are necessary for the human arrival to and subsequent development of the planet Mars. Is there any doubt that without Columbus, the Europeans wouldn't have eventually arrived in America? Is there any doubt about the economic return on investment of the development of the Americas or of Alaska? In one day, perhaps, in 500 years, it has exceeded even the wildest dreams of the biggest optimists. Mars is relatively close. It has temperatures similar to those of Earth, water, an atmosphere, a similar 24-hour day, natural resources, etc., etc. The destination will be Mars. It is not an if, but rather simply a when. We went to the moon 50 years ago with 1/1000th of the technological power that we possess today. The exploration and development of another planet will inspire an entire generation of young people to study math and science, the intellectual capital of which will also benefit Earth in incredible ways. It's worth recalling the quip of Mr. Einstein in regard to the future World War, but how he knew not what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. The destruction of planet Earth is a real possibility. And on the line is nothing less than the entire existence of the human race. The ancient Greeks used to say that a society becomes great when the older generation plants trees under which they know they shall never sit. If it were in our power, in our time, to do something great, something important, something extraordinary, we should.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, I believe that the contestants will be sent to their respective rooms where they can write their evaluation notes. Sergeant at Arms, once all contestants are in the room, make sure to give them the 5-minute countdown, which will allow them to write any notes that they have to evaluate our test speaker, Haven.
Mr. Contest Chair, Sergeant at Arms, and all contestants are in the contestants' room. So you may proceed.
Okay, great. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to yield the floor to our amazing Toastmaster of the day, Lois Margolin.
Thank you, Mr. Contest Chair. I have the honor of talking with Haven for just a little bit. So Haven, that was an incredible speech. I have so much that I want to unpack from there, but before I get started, I was curious, what club are you in and when did you join?
I've recently been involved with 2 different clubs in Lima, Peru. One is Miraflores Toastmasters Club, and the other is Phoenix Toastmasters Club of Peru, both of which are online these days due to ongoing pandemics. And I originally started in the Miraflores Club about 3 years ago. It's a Spanish-only speaking club. In Phoenix, we're multi-language, but mostly English. And about 3 years ago, I would say, off and on, but pretty consistently the last year and a half.
So you did an incredible job with this speech. Did you already come in at a high level of speaking, or were you one of those that barely could get over the door and this is how you are after 3 years?
I've given this speech in Spanish previously. It's the first time in English that I can recall. So I had some practice with it specifically, although I had some move-ups. I don't know, just practicing every week at 2 different clubs, I think has helped me out a lot.
But when you first joined, were you nervous? Were you a nervous speaker or were you already confident?
Medium, I would say, not excessively confident, but a little bit nervous now and then. Obviously, the more practice I had in any given event or with any given speech or exposition, I would do a little bit better. At work, I had to give some speeches in prior life, but not all the time. That wasn't what I did. I don't know, medium, I would say.
Okay, so now here's really where I wanted to go, because that was just all nice to know, but I was fascinated with your title. First off, I'm going, Mars? Did he really say Mars? What started you on this thought process? Where did you even come up with this idea? What sparked your interest?
Well, there's a book called something very similar, by Robert Zubrin. He's a NASA guy, and he's got some YouTube videos and some books, and I've read them and watched his videos, and I'm sold. And it's just something that I think doesn't get a lot of play. It seems just outlandish and crazy in science fiction, but I think really this should be the goal of our space program. So I just wanted to get it out there in a speech.
Well, there's been a lot of science fiction movies about, populating Mars, where we would just do it with a certain type of individuals. And I know, funny that you bring this up, because my husband and I were talking about that there would have to be like a certain age and a certain number of scientists and things like that. And is it something that you are even interested in doing, or you just want to read about it?
If there's an opportunity, who knows, right? I don't know that that's soon going to happen to where we could sign up. No, although there have been attempts, but they've been kind of abortive in nature, premature. But if we can get some real traction on this, then who knows? Elon Musk has said that he wants to get there before he gets too old to be able to go. That's Mr. Musk. Who knows? We'll see what's possible, but we just got to get the ball rolling first.
I think it's incredibly interesting. What made you decide to go back into history, to look at history, to plan the future? Was that also part of his book, or is this something you put together?
A little bit of each. Some examples that I've heard from videos online, and I reformulated them, and some that I just came up with, things I thought of, and looked up the stats and put them in. So a little bit of each, because I thought they showed that, hey, this is not something where we're looking for tomorrow results, but in the long term, it's really easy to underestimate how big of an impact it could have. And I want to have a different type of conversation about why we should go, not the exact how uncomfortable it will be or dangerous or whatever, but just, hey, think out a little bit further than you've normally been thinking, and this is going to blow your mind.
Well, I know I, for one, have enjoyed listening to you. I am sure everybody here had a marvelous time listening to your speech and making us imagine where we could go. But I understand our 5 minutes are up, and let's give him a big round of applause, because he did a magnificent job. And I know you have 9 people waiting to tell you what a great job you did. Thank you so much for being here today.
Okay, thank you, Lois, and thank you, Haven. Are we ready for contestant 1?
I've just requested the first speaker.
Okay.
The chat will be off from now on. And can I please ask everybody apart from the speaker and timer to turn off their videos, please? Thank you.
Okay. We have our first evaluator. Contestant 1, can you give us a mic check?
Hello, everybody.
Are you satisfied with the framing of your video?
Yes, thank you.
Are you able to see and pin the timer? Our timer will be Graham Cairns.
I've pinned the timer.
Okay. Also, the timers are aware that they will be responsible to give an audio cue at the 2 minute, 2 minute and a half, and 3 minute mark. Contestant number 1, Susan Hewitt. Susan Hewitt.
A smile to melt all the ice in Alaska. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. It really matters who's giving a speech, because the more open and friendly the person, the more easily we can create a rapport with them. We can engage with what they're saying and get their message. And Haven gave us an exemplary example of this tonight, because he has such an open and friendly demeanor. His face filled the screen and his face was open, and I was able to really engage with him right from the beginning. Engage with him I needed to, because what a technical speech. This was no candy floss speech, no bubblegum throwaway literary speech. This was a very deep issue, and there was an awful lot of information in there. And it's great to see a speech where someone has taken the bull by the horns. Literally, if that was a meal, it would be the steak the size of half a herd of cattle. It was something to really get your teeth into there. And I think that's a great thing to happen. So well done there, Haven. One thing though, there was an awful lot of facts and figures there. We had 1492, 1866, 7.2 million, 1.25 million. My head was spinning. And an audience like me who's never come across this topic before, it was a little too much to grasp. So perhaps one thing would be to perhaps either cut out some of the detail or have it in some slides so it's easier to assimilate, because often a visual representation is easier to grasp. And another thing that made it a little more difficult was you were reading. Haven was reading. Well, that's a shame, because the speech would have been a lot more naturally presented had Haven been coming out with the information naturally.
Green.
If a speech is read, one can get into patterns, reading patterns, and that loses some of the engagement with the audience. And this, you might have noticed, was in the rhythm, sort of 1.25 million. I'm sure when he goes home tonight, or he's having a coffee, Haven won't say a cup of coffee, please. He will be saying it much more flowing and smoothly. And I think had he been coming out with it, then it would have been easier to grasp. But the energy he brought to that topic was amazing. It really made me want to go home and research. Well, I'm at home, obviously. I am at home under the law. Go home and research that topic and really understand a little more, because he made me feel really enthusiastic about that. So in summary, what a great smile. A fantastically technical topic grasped with full force. Perhaps a little less data and don't read it, but a great enthusiasm and interest. Mr. Contest Chair.
We will now observe 1 minute of silence. Timer, give us the red when 1 minute has elapsed. 1 minute has elapsed. Contestant number 2, can you give us a mic check?
Pamela Benjamin.
Are you satisfied with the framing of your video? Was that yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Are you able to see and pin the timer? It's timer 1, Graham Cairns.
The timer is a black background with the Toastmasters logo.
He's pinned. I haven't pinned.
Okay, great. Contestant number 2, Pamela Benjamin. Pamela Benjamin.
Did you see the newspaper? Stewart's Folly. He paid over $125 million. Online presenters, guests, fellow Toastmasters, but especially to our speaker who brought this speech of such importance to us. I'm going to help you go through some of parts of the speech that you did really well, and parts that you could work on, and parts that you could learn to grow and get a little better with. I thought you had a commanding perspective of history, and I was just in awe as you went off list by list of some of the really important things and not so important things. So I think your speech really had, the first part was things of the past and then what's going on now. I thought you really showed depth and perception with that. Second thing, I loved your conclusion. Your conclusion that older generations will plant trees that they will never sit under. Profound, beautiful, last words linger. So I loved your history. I loved your conclusion. Now, what can we work on to get this to another level? I think that if you would have picked 1 or 2 pieces of history to contrast and compare, it would have been a little easier. So if you had a strong, real strong opening right after the Stewart's Folly, and then talked about maybe sometimes we didn't really understand the ramifications of history, but now we're seeing things after the moon landing, after Sputnik, all these different things. And what did that do? It ignited our emotion, it ignited our feelings. So I think that would have helped us, because I had a hard time transitioning from one point to the next. But once I started to understand where you were going, I really, really enjoyed it. You had passion, you had integrity when you talked about things that you really were heartfelt. There were parts that I think you could have been a little clearer. You used a staccato, a rhythm that was very, very intriguing and very unique. I really enjoyed it. But if you would have gone a little bit slower at points, it would have been a little bit clearer. So your vocal variety was great, and your introduction was wonderful, your conclusion. But if we just work on those, some of the parts in the middle, then I think it will be an incredible, incredible work. Thank you.
We will now observe 1 minute of silence. Timer, give us the red when 1 minute has elapsed. Contestant number 3, Elizanne Warren-Russell. Please give us a mic check.
Mic check.
Are you satisfied with the framing of your video?
Yes.
Are you able to see and pin the timer?
Timer pinned.
Contestant number 3, Elizanne Warren-Russell. Elizanne Warren-Russell.
Hello, everyone. To our contestant Haven, it was such a pleasure listening to your speech as you brought relevant information for these times. I do like the way that you held eye contact with us, because each and every one of us felt as if we were right in the room with you. You kept us intrigued and entertained. I do suggest, though, that you practice with your frame prior to any speaking engagement. For as many times we were not able to see your hand gestures, and your head was cut off at times. I also suggest that you ensure that your hand gestures are able to be visible when you're speaking. Your vocal variety was very much in tune with us. We felt that you were speaking directly to us, as mentioned before. At the end, however, you did end abruptly. You had another minute and a half or so that you could have rounded off the information that you presented so that we didn't forget what you started with and what you ended with. Again, your vocal variety was great. Your tone was consistent. You did have your pitches and your highs and lows, and we were able to really grasp a lot of what you were saying. Again, I'll suggest that you continue to practice with your frame prior to any competition or any of your speaking engagements so that we can see all of your hand gestures. Continue to give us great eye contacts as you practice your speeches, and also continue to give us the information that is relevant to today's society. Mr. Contest Chair.
We will now observe 1 minute of silence. Timer, give us the red when 1 minute has elapsed. Contestant number 4, please give us a mic check.
Hello, 1, 2, 3. How can you hear me?
We can hear you. Are you satisfied with the framing of your video?
Okay, 1 sec. Yes, I am.
Okay. Are you able to see the timer and pin the timer? That will be timer number 1, Graham Cairns.
Yes.
And just to confirm, you do not need an audible timing cue. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Contestant number 4, Andriy Smolenko. Andriy Smolenko.
Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and dear Heaven Tristan, what a powerful speech. You started with an engaging reference to Alaska and the numbers. You gave the staggering figures that we could all relate to, and you put it into perspective how much that would be in these days, so we could have a clear understanding of what you're going to talk about. I could see that in your speech that you were a really patient, experienced, and empowering public speaker, a Toastmaster, true in his nature, with all the enthusiasm coming through. I could hear that your vocal variety was well rehearsed, brilliant, and timbre of your voice was mesmerizing. I could feel empowered and engaged by your presentation. You felt confident. At the same time, you really wanted to deliver your message. I think we all know that from time to time, our face, especially in online presentation, can go over the limits and can go up the limits. It's something perhaps your speech could improve on, is just keeping your head in the middle of the screen. Then we all could have a better engaging experience and understanding of what you're going to say. At the same time, the storyline. In few moments, I felt a bit overwhelmed with facts, because facts tell and story sells. I would like to see the setting of the story at the beginning, then telling the story in the end, perhaps with a bit more powerful conclusion. That could have, I think, a much better image into everybody's heads. We could all relate and feel that. Great vocal varieties and telling us through the history of the United States and history of projecting history into the space and what could happen with all of us if we work together. In my view, your powerful, engaging presentation could be improved in all those basic things that I mentioned. In summary, your presentation, high level, engaging, very interesting, just tweaking a few points. As I said, your speech could get to the much, much higher level. We all enjoy your speech, and hey, the sky is the limit. Mr. Contest Chair.
We will now observe 1 minute of silence. Timer, give us the red when 1 minute has elapsed. Contestant number 5, Roxanne Hosein, can you give us a mic check?
I will. Let me pin my timer. And yes, mic check.
Are you satisfied with the framing of your video?
I'll take it. Yes.
Okay. And just to confirm, you have pinned the timer. That's timer 1, Graham Cairns.
I have. That is the Toastmaster logo?
Correct.
We're good to go.
Also, the second timer is aware that you have requested an audible timing cue.
Thank you.
Contestant number 5, Roxanne Hosein. Roxanne Hosein.
Thank you, contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, and of course, our guest speaker, Heaven. Thank you for that speech. The moment you opened your mouth with that sense of urgency, the high excitement and that tone that brought life immediately to what you were saying, that was an attention grabber. And it did grab my attention. As you went on, You gave information that I didn't know. I didn't know Alaska was purchased for 7.2. I didn't know who the parties to the transaction was, and I didn't know its current day value. And I did not know that that value is now the daily gross from that state alone exceeds that current day value. So that in that I was learning something new already had me fed in. You took us with highs and lows in varying your pace as you went through. You used your pauses appropriately to get us to stop and to think and to lean in. What I would have liked to see more of is those hand gestures. I saw the indications from the tips just below the frame of what may have been going on. And I think for me, what would have made it a little more impactful if all that theatrical movement that I could see hints of with your hands was more visible. Not by you bringing it into the frame, but by you stepping back and framing yourself more fully. What I would also say, when it was over, I did find myself struggling to find what was the main point, what was the universal truth. Yes, I saw that thing of forward thinking and who would have known from a transaction back then what the benefit would have been now. But then the matter of, well, it's not taught in schools. And then I wasn't sure, was that purchase an analogy to what we could see happening with Mars? And then came that closing line or near the end that great men will plant trees under which they don't expect to sit. So was that the message, or was the message looking forward of what our investment in Mars today could be? So I say all that to say the challenge I would leave you with is that of developing a clearer structure of your story with clearer transitions and the ability or the wrap up that would leave me with that clear picture of what I was to take away. Back to you, contest chair.
You will now observe 1 minute of silence. Timer, give us the red when 1 minute has elapsed.
Mr. Brown, you are in the room. Yeah, hold on.
Contestant number 6, can you give us a mic check?
Testing 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me? 1 2 1 2.
We can hear you. We cannot see you.
My video is showing.
I'm sorry, Lucas. I can see you. I can see Lewis.
I have 2 panels, Lucas.
Okay, there we are. Okay. Okay, so it seems
By
that
the way,
one that's on speaker view would be the one that's not video.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
I don't. Okay, sorry. Am I coming in echoey?
I don't hear it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, you gave us the mic check. Are you satisfied with the framing of your video?
Yes.
Are you able to see and pin the timer? That's timer 1, Graham Cairns.
Bear with me 1 second. I see timer 2. I'm trying to find timer 1. Sorry.
You'll see the Toastmasters logo.
Oh, got it. Yes, he's pinned.
Okay. The timers are also aware that you have requested an audio timing cue. Contestant number 6, Lou Brown. Lou Brown.
Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and especially Toastmaster Heaven Tristan. The case for Mars, yesterday's Alaska is today's Mars. Wonderful speech. I enjoyed it very much. You know, Heaven, if I didn't know that you were not a member of online presenters, I would have thought that you were, because it is very evident that you are an experienced speaker. And quite frankly, you could probably be in an advanced club, because that's how well you are, how well you spoke, and how I really enjoyed your speech. I really enjoyed the way that you use an informational approach in the delivery of your speech. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. First of all, let me share with you that I'm an old school Toastmaster. One of the basics, I'm going to talk about your organization, your body language, and your vocal variety. So getting back to that informational approach, organization of your speech, I like how you started with the story of Alaska, Stewart's Folly. I have heard of it, but quite frankly, I didn't remember exactly what that was about. And I agree, that is not something that is taught in our schools these days, at least not that much. Again, I heard of it, but it was probably through some research. So thank you for sharing that with us. Some interesting information there. I liked how you made the analogy between how much we paid for Alaska, how cheap it was, and how that could very well be a case for getting us to Mars, given that it might not seem so cost ineffective end of the day, given what we ended up with Alaska. You did spend quite a bit of time sharing with us the story of Stewart's Folly, so I would have liked to have heard you get to Mars a lot quicker. That was the title of your speech, and quite frankly, I was hoping that you would share with us the various aspects of that case. The technology, the fact that we may not have Earth that much longer, who knows, with climate change. I didn't hear a third item, but that could be another area that you could improve the speech with, is by including a third area. Body language. You had some really good purposeful gestures and effective use of the square to a degree. I would have liked you to use your gestures in a way that we could see them. Maybe step back from the camera a little bit, because I did see some hand movement, but quite frankly, I saw them somewhere out of the range of the camera. I did notice a little bit of rocking back and forth like this when you were speaking. It was great that you emphasized your speech, but the rocking kind of took away from that a little bit. And also your pace was great, tone was great, excellent clarity and loudness of your speech, enjoyed it. But and speaking of vocal variety, again, I really like that you had great pace. You did have a couple of mic issues. I didn't catch every single word, and it wasn't that I needed to hear every single word, but there were a couple of key words that I did miss. Overall, wonderful speech, great organization, body language, vocal variety, a few little tips there for you to improve it. Yesterday's quest for Alaska, today's quest for Mars, perhaps today's Greenland could be tomorrow's Venus. Again, thank you, Toastmaster Haven. Back to you, Contest Master.
We will now observe 1 minute of silence. Timer, give us the red when 1 minute has elapsed.
Can I? Okay. Can I start?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
Give us a mic check.
Okay.
Just a moment. Are you satisfied with the framing of your video?
Yes, the way the video is okay. Yeah.
Okay. Are you able to see and pin the timer?
I can see the timer. Toastmasters International. I can see him.
Okay.
So I'm not pinning him. I'm not pinning him.
Okay.
Okay.
The timers have also been notified to give you a audio timing cue.
Okay, perfect.
Contestant number 7, Ginette François. Ginette François.
Yes. So I'll start with this. Last week, I tricked myself to be part of this evaluation contest, and I'm very pleased to have done so. Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, and especially you, Tristan. I'm particularly impressed with the delivery of your speech. Your speech was informative, a very informative speech. Notice how you use certain words like when you were saying, like, many years ago, we've been to the moon. Those are powerful words. And I like the way your facial expressions also. You had great facial expressions. You were crisping your face when you were showing us about your passion, about the way you viewed the speech, the way you viewed the way you were talking. That was very impressive to me. But one thing I noticed is that I would have liked, one thing I think that you could have improved upon would be your pauses. You didn't, I feel that the pauses were not long enough. I would suggest you to take a few pauses, to take the pause before, and then invite us in within your speech, and then take another pause after your speech. So that would have made us have a better connection with you while you were doing your speech. And one thing I noticed also, it's like the projection of your voice. You were projecting your voice, but your voice was projected, but I wish that you had a little bit more control with the projection of your voice. Your eye contact was excellent. And also the way you were speaking was great. In summation, first thing, I would like you to, I enjoyed the delivery of your speech. I enjoy the choice of words that you use, your passion within your speech. And secondly, I enjoyed the way you were expressing the emotions on your with your facial expressions on your face when you were crisping your face to show us how passionate you were. And thirdly, I would strongly suggest that you pace yourself so that we can have a better understanding and a better connection with you while you were doing your speech. And the takeaway I get from your speech, it's speech like yours that make me come back again and again to Toastmasters. Contest chair.
We will now observe 1 minute of silence. Timer, give us the red when 1 minute has elapsed. Jim Barber, can you give us a mic check?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Cool.
Are you satisfied with the framing of your video?
Yes, I am.
Are you able to see and pin the timer that will be Graham Cairns timer 1 with the Toastmasters logo in the back?
Well, he's moved. Hang on just a moment. Okay, got him.
Contestant number 8, Jim Barber. Jim Barber.
Mr. Contest Master, my fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guests, and especially Toastmaster Heaven Tristan Hosh. Heaven, this was a great presentation. There we go. The thing that I like best, the single best thing, and it came through in all aspects of what you were doing, was your enthusiasm. Too often people read speeches or they're simply giving a speech, but you were talking to us, and not just talking, it was incredible. The enthusiasm almost reached out from behind the screen and reached out and grabbed us. I liked, for example, the way you made statistics relatable. You threw out statistics, how much Alaska cost. That's great, but money value, you know, once you get above $1,000, it doesn't really mean that much anymore. But when you put it relatable and you said that Alaska pays for itself every day, that's something that we can relate to. And I like that. And again, it was your enthusiasm that brought that in. Your vocals, everything about your vocals was outstanding. Your pacing, your use of pauses, your volume, you spoke conversationally, but it wasn't relaxed, it was passionate, and I liked that very, very much. Your frame of reference overall was good. You used the frame, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Your gestures were also, because that ties into it, your gestures were good, but so many of your gestures were down here. We could see them simply as your fingertips, but we couldn't see the entire thing. So either get your gestures up a little bit higher so that we can make them out, so that we can see them, or you were a little bit close to the screen and occasionally it chopped off the top of your head. And so if you would maybe move back from the screen a little bit further, you'd have, number one, we wouldn't have the problem of losing the top of your head, but also we would be able to see your gestures. Even when they're down here, we wouldn't see just your fingertips. We could actually see what you are doing. But this was a very impressive presentation. As I say, your enthusiasm was just incredible. I wanted to listen to more, and that's about the highest compliment that I could give someone. This was a heaven-sent presentation, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Mr. Contest Master.
We will now observe 1 minute of silence. Timer, give us the red when 1 minute has elapsed.
Yeah, quiet now.
Contestant number 9, Carl Walsh, can you give us a mic check?
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
Okay, we can hear you. Are you satisfied with the framing of your video?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Are you able to see and pin the timer? That would be timer 1, Graham Cairns.
Right, I'm gonna pin him. I can see him. There we go.
Okay. Contestant 9, Carl Walsh. Carl Walsh.
Well, first of all, to begin with, what a great timely idea coming out of a pandemic, hopefully, eventually. We're going to need something to look forward to. And you are setting the sights. You're setting them high, but that's when great things are achieved. Now, I'm going to go through a few technical things, Haven, and just to note them, and then I'll get into some deeper things. First of all, just be aware that your eye contact in the beginning was a little shaky. And the two things that people remember most from any presentation is the first thing you said and the last thing you said. So you really want to hook them right in the beginning and right at the end. More about the end later. So you have a movement that you do a lot where you bring your shoulders up and come into the camera like that. It's a very aggressive movement and a little off-putting. Practice, look at recordings, practice on trying to maintain a proper distance. It's okay to do this when you want to and you want to emphasize something, but maintain a proper distance through the rest of the thing. Also be aware that your hand gestures were for the most part off frame. So we saw a lot of movement, but we didn't see your hands. Now let's get into the meat, the important stuff. You made a lot of great points here, but one problem that you had was that you emphasized everything, which means that almost nothing is emphasized. And it becomes sort of samey after a while. In fact, I actually lost a little bit of your call to action at the end. And the words of your call to action are beautiful. They're great. You want people to hear them. But because everything's been emphasized along the way, they sort of got missed. And you want that call to action to get really specific. Find something really specific that you're asking people to do, some behavior that you want changed, so that 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now, they can remember what it was. And just remember always that a speech is in many ways like a piece of music. It really is. It has highs, it has lows, it has rapid and slow interludes. The main theme is emphasized, but the rest of it underpins, it supports the main theme. And so take that word to heart, underpins, so that your main theme comes out strong and brilliant. So much information in there, so many great points. Just give us some variations so we don't lose any. And back to the Toastmaster.
We will now observe silence, 1 minute of silence. And during that time, Zoom Master, please move our anonymous judges, our timers, our ballot counters to their respective rooms.
I'm just having difficulty with one judge, J7. Please press the breakout room button on your screen and go to your breakout room. Okay, all judges, timers, counters, and chief judges are out of the room. Over to you, contest chair.
Thank you. Now, we've gone through all of our contestants, and what I did ask for all of our contestants to do was to complete a Toastmasters contestant profile form. And believe it or not, I did look through all of them and I did see what you all shared about yourselves. So I'd like to base my contestant interviews based on the forms that you all submitted. and something that I picked out that I wanted to get a little bit more information about. I'm going to call up each contestant in the speaking order, and please limit your answers to the table topic 1 minute answer. So let's hear from Susan. Unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted.
Okay. You stated that the success of others inspires you. Can you tell us about a recent success story you were able to witness?
Yes, a recent success story I saw was someone who is a Toastmaster and really was wanting to improve and has asked a lot of people for help, much more than would be usual, but had really embraced the help and really gone beyond to just literally transform. In fact, it's not just their speaking that's transformed, it's their whole life that's transformed. And I think that's really inspirational, because I'd like to see my life transform in that way. And it's just by that actual, just that passion and that belief that there can be change and that reaching out. I find that really inspirational. Too often it's easy just to sit back and expect things to come, but they just don't. You have to go out and get them.
Thank you, Susan. Let's hear from Pamela. Unmute yourself, please. Give us an hello so we can see you on screen.
Mr. Contest Chair, can I just interrupt for 1 second,
Sure.
please? Countess Sarah, can you please press the breakout room button and go back to the judges' room, please? The chief judge's room. Thank you.
Pamela, are you there? Are you connected? Give us a hello and I can ask you a question.
Excuse me, can you say that again?
Okay, now I see you. You shared that you enjoy watching TED Talks. What was the subject of your favorite TED Talk?
There's so many of them, but I think my favorite TED Talk is when the producer of Grey's Anatomy talked about the great story and how to make a story that just would last forever. And she went into such incredible detail. And she talked about how the different mediums use story in so many different ways. And it just captivated me, because I think she has created with that TV program that's lasted over a decade, so many different ways to take a character and morph those different personalities and people. And I think that she's really a creative fiction, who's just an architect on how she's able to pull people in and keep people engaged. And so I really like her, listening to what she has to say and hearing some of the mastermind of some of the fiction. And it really speaks to me as a speaker on how important stories are and how to spend time thinking them through.
Thank you. Elizanne, let's hear from you. Say hello.
Hi, everyone.
You shared that you enjoy fishing. Can you tell us about a memorable fishing experience?
Great. I'm new to fishing. So from time to time, I would go out on the boats in Captree, which is in Long Island, and just try to fish it. The most memorable one was one day, one of the guys on the boat caught a stingray. And it took him a minute. He was literally walked around the whole boat in order to reel this stingray in. And it was just so exciting, because it's not something that you normally see when you go to fishing, but it was very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Andriy, say hello.
Hello, Mr. Contest Chair.
You shared that you met Prince Charles once. Can you tell us how that happened?
It's a long story. I'm not sure if I can put it in 1 minute. I do my best. I did meet Prince Charles. About 15 years ago, I was working on one of the building sites in London. And luckily, me with a couple of my friends were stood outside drinking tea, as normally builders do, and talking about the weather. And then we saw Prince Charles. himself surrounded by bodyguards, just walking by. And when me and my mates, we told this story to the rest of the building sites, no one believed us. Luckily, there were a number of us, so I'm still carrying the burden, telling people what I saw was true. And yes, I met Prince Charles.
Thank you, Andriy. Roxanne, let's hear from you. Say hello.
Yes, hello.
Your favorite quote is "walk good." Can you tell us what that means to you?
Yes, I can do that. Walk good is how it's said. If you're going to get it right, get it right. Walk good. It is Jamaican vernacular for what would be the same as go with God. Vaya con Dios. It's not walk well. It's not walk properly. It's walk with God. And it is something that is said in farewell. So it's not used in hello. It's when you're sending someone off. You'll say to them, all right, walk good.
Thank you, Roxanne. Lou, say hello.
Hello.
You shared that you enjoy roller coasters. What was the most memorable roller coaster ride you have had?
You know, Lucas, I have to say, it's so funny. I'm like, I wonder if he's going to ask me about the roller coasters. Wow, you know what? There's so many, and I am still not done with my roller coaster tour of the country, maybe of the world. But one of the ones that I remember the most is at a Six Flags park near where I grew up. That was fairly new. The park itself was something from the 50s or 60s that they finally tore it down and built the Six Flags. But I think it's called the Superman coaster. And the thing is literally like I guess it'd be a vertical drop going some, who knows, 60 miles an hour or something crazy like that. So the whole thing with the G-force and, you know, that adrenaline rush and all that. Now, this was about 15 years ago, and I have been on some since then. I'm just wondering if I could still handle them. We'll see. I'm going to make a trip after COVID.
Thank you, Lou. Ginette, say hello. Ginette, unmute yourself and say hello so we can see you. You're still on mute.
Yes, I unmuted myself. Yes.
Okay, now we hear you. You've held the president position for another Toastmasters club. What was one challenge you had to navigate as president?
Oh yes, yes. In my club, the challenge that I had to navigate is that at first I didn't know all the things that I had to cover as a president. So I had the previous president helping me to let me to inform me about what I should do. So she briefs me all the time so that I can better do my presidency.
Thank you, Ginette. Jim, say hello.
Hello.
You've held every officer position in your brick and mortar club. Which officer position is your favorite?
Wow. Zoom, of course, has changed everything, but I think my favorite position was Sergeant at Arms. I enjoyed setting up the room, setting up the logistics so that everything worked well. It's just, I think the Sergeant at Arms is an underrated position. I think it's an underappreciated position. And I enjoyed all the positions, and I learned something from all of them. But I think Sergeant at Arms is the one that I remember most fondly.
Thank you, Jim. Carl, say hello.
Hello.
You shared that you get inspiration from great theater. Once we're able to return to the theater after COVID-19, which theater production would you recommend that we attend?
Oh gosh, well, we'll have to see what's available, but one of the best ones that I have seen in recent years, I saw on Broadway, and it's called The Visit. And it's a wonderful small scale musical, but the music is all part of the drama. It's not big numbers or anything like that. And it's about a Egyptian band that is supposed to perform in the Palestinian area of Israel, and they get on the wrong bus and end up in the Israeli section. And they have to stay there overnight. And it's the interaction between them and the people in the town. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful story that when it comes to your town, see it.
Thank you, Carl. At this time, let's hear from our Toastmaster of the day, Lois. Say hello.
Hello, hello.
I would like to yield the floor to you. I think I've spoken way too much. And feel free to involve any of the other attendees with some table topics, some interesting things, which I'm sure will be in great hands.
Absolutely. Okay, well, first off, Lucas, fabulous job. Thank you so much for all that you have done. Let's give him a big round of applause. So there's a lot of interesting questions that went on here, and I don't have the advantage of having a contestant profile, but I do have the advantage of looking at your backgrounds and saying, what made you pick that particular background? So I am going to start with Graham. Graham, you have had some really interesting backgrounds throughout a contest where you're the timer and you're supposed to have a plain background. Please tell us about this. Is it because you're honoring Haven?
During the contest, of course, I had the Toastmasters logo and then the colors, but because Haven has again inspired my love of matters, space, yes. Behind me, by the way, Apollo 9. This wasn't one of the moonshot Apollos. This actually only ever went into Earth orbit, but it had the first ever untethered spacewalk. Imagine the guts that would have had to take to get out there not connected. So, and it inspires me. If you ever get the chance to go to the San Diego Air and Space Museum, this is there. There's lots to see. And yes, you're right. Mars is not when, not if, but when. And so that's why this.
Look at that, Haven. You have a converter. Congratulations. All right, Emily, can you tell us about your background? It is absolutely beautiful.
Sure. This is a favorite vacation place that my family's gone to many years. And my parents, after I went there as a child, maybe for 5 or 10 years, then my parents continued to take us as adults. And interestingly, it's Golden Pond, if you know the movie On Golden Pond. And my husband and I discovered while watching On Golden Pond for the very first time that he had also summered here. And so that's fun coincidence.
Wow, well, you love when these backgrounds speak to you. And I bet Mary Ruth Dilling has a fabulous story about that gorgeous background. Mary Ruth?
It's just my dream.
Hey, well, tell us about your dream. Spend a moment.
Well, mountains, trees, water. I used to live in North Idaho. I'm in Texas now. I miss the mountains. So when I was looking at backgrounds that caught my attention, I thought, oh, yep, I got to have that one.
There you go. Well, it is beautiful. It is serene. And it is someplace I would like to travel to. Marianne Grady, what is the saying back there? What's behind you?
Do all things with kindness.
Oh, I love that saying. Now you have to tell us about it.
Well, last year I turned 60 and I was right after my kidney transplant, so I couldn't celebrate. So what I decided to do is have a kindness campaign. And I wanted to get 60 people to do 60 random acts of kindness, which I thought would, be impactful, something good for my birthday since I couldn't go out and celebrate. So that's where I got into all the kindness stuff.
Oh, that is so nice. There is a woman on TikTok that she gets people to donate $5, $10, whatever. And then she accumulates it and she walks up to a server who has given her good service or she has witnessed giving good service. It could be a drive-through, and she'll hand them anywhere between $700 to $1,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's awesome.
And so when you say that, and she does this every week, and people just donate $5, $10, and they can watch her give this money away. And it makes you just think, oh my gosh, that's incredible. So thank you. I appreciate you sharing. And so now I want to hear a little bit, are judges back, or they're still counting? I think they're still counting, right, Nick?
They're still counting. They've taken their shoes and socks off, and they're down to their toes.
Okay, so we're down to the toes. That means we've got to be pretty close. So now I want to hear about some history of where you are from. So Malthazar, I do love your background, but I'd also like you to tell us a little bit about where you're from.
Well, Madam Toastmaster, I was born in India, but I was grown up all over the world. I definitely, as a child, I visited 40 different countries with my parents. The best one, for sure, most time I spent in Malaysia before coming to Canada. So I would say been here. So I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, the northern Alberta. And it's a beautiful place. The mountains are beautiful and can be more thankful.
Now, where were you were born in India? Is that what you said?
Correct.
And you went to 40 different countries.
Yep. My dad was a teacher, and he was traveling, and he was teaching in different places. So definitely, we've been traveling throughout him. Somehow, I landed in Malaysia for longer than expected, and I think I still have a lot of love there with the boarding school and everything. I have to admit that was the best time of my life.
Wow, very exciting. For our guests, please make sure you have a G in front of your name, rename yourself. And if you haven't done so, put your email address in our chat box. And so now I'm going to Khalid. So Khalid, I know that you're from Bahrain, but I think it'd be really interesting to tell us something about that country, because you said it's really tiny. So what makes it unique, and why do you stay?
Okay, good. I don't know, is it good evening, good day, good morning? I don't know. Fellow Toastmasters. Well, actually, it's a very interesting place. My country is very tiny, but it has a rich history. This little island has so many names. In the old time, it used to be called Delmon, and then it used to be called Tylus. At different stages of history, it had different names. There are also stories that there was a man looking for, I don't know, what is it called, the elixir of life, like you can live eternally. They came to my country looking for that substance. And it's a very old folklore, story that people tell. It's called Gilgamesh. You could probably Google this. The Gilgamesh story. That's what I can tell you. But today, it's a very modern place, very beautiful, and very welcoming. You know that people from Ireland are always warm-hearted and welcoming. So I invite you all to one day visit Bahrain, and I will be receiving you at the airport. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, be careful. We might be taking you up on that. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. I enjoyed listening about your country. So Mac White, if I remember correctly, you're from the US and you're living in Mexico now. Yes?
That is correct. And Haven's speech really hit home, because prior to retiring to Alaska, prior to retiring to Mexico, we lived in Alaska for 17 years. And that's 17 winters. For 5 years, I worked above the Arctic Circle. One day I walked to work in 80-degree below weather.
What did you do? What was your job?
I was a school principal.
Oh my God.
And above the Arctic Circle, there's 10 villages, and there's a school in each village. And probably the main city you've heard of in Alaska at the top of the world is Barrow. But there's also villages like the one I was in, had 500 people. It was a mile square. And for the first time in my life, I was truly in the minority. There was only 23 Caucasians there. So incredible experience.
Wow. Well, you must really have enjoyed it to have stayed for that long in that harsh weather.
It's truly the last frontier.
I believe it. I know I visited Alaska. It's gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. I don't think I visited the rural part like you have, but
no.
Pretty interesting. So not to be outdone, Jim Gould changed his background, and I think he's sitting there going, pick me, pick me. So Jim Gould, tell us about your background.
Well, it's actually Jim Lovell's birthday today, and he's the one who took this picture in Apollo 9. It was the first Apollo, or first mission that actually left the orbit of Earth and left and went to another planet or another moon. And this is Earthrise, and this is really a photo that will live on forever because, and thanks to Jim Lovell, happy birthday, old man.
Happy birthday, Jim. Well, that is a beautiful picture, no doubt about that. So Susan Hewitt, I have to come over to you, and I've been looking at your background wondering, is it a mirage or are you really in a corner? I'm sorry, I have to know. Did you back yourself into a corner?
Should I be revealing my secrets?
Yes, please.
It's not a mirage, it's a screen that I've shaped in a corner.
Oh, so it is angled.
I've angled it, yes. It's 3 parts to it. And I've, as you can see, there's a join there and there's a join there. So I've created a bit of depth.
Well, you did, because it caught my attention and I kept looking at it going, I don't know, is she in a corner? Is it just a background? And if it was just a virtual, how did you do that? So kudos to you. That's very creative. And when you look around and you see all these different backgrounds and how fun they are, you realize the different personalities that are visiting us. We have people from Mexico, from Ontario, from Bahrain. Marion Grady, you're what, Maryland? Washington.
Delaware.
Delaware. Okay, I knew I was in that area somewhere. So, and you know, we have people from all over the place. So I'm going to find someone who is not from the US. Asil, would you say hello and tell everybody where you're from?
Hello, everyone. I'm from Kazakhstan, Almaty City. We have mountains and autumn is beautiful here. Trees change their leaves and it's red and yellow, beautiful golden autumn. In America, they call fall, right? I'm falling for you. Back to you.
Thank you so much. And Sakashur, you are sporting a gorgeous hat. It was made just for you. Why don't you say hello? I haven't seen you for a while.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be back after a short break. And I'm really loving these Zoom filters with the upgrade. This is Zora one, but I like this one better. And I hope Dartmouth College, where I study in, gives me this in a few months.
There you go. There's the man who knows. Did you actually do 2 filters, or is it 1 filter with the hat and the glasses?
It's just the same filter. It somehow learns that my eyes are here. And
Crazy stuff they come out with.
Oh,
So Lou Brown, I love your background, but I can't read the whole thing or who it's from. Could you let us know what it says?
Yes, it's one of my favorite quotes. Let me see if I can get out of the way here. It's a Henry Ford quote. Whether you think you can or you can't, you are right.
Love that. So that's one of your favorite quotes. Very nice.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
for sharing. And Anna, I see you were trying on some sporty hats. Which one did you end up liking the best?
I don't think I had it angled right, but I liked the red beret. It was pretty cool.
There you go. And your background, what does it say?
I think it says be kind to your mind. And like Marianne, I found this a long time ago and I've consistently used it because I like the flowers and the fact that it's like the quote is right over my shoulder. So it's like my
Yes.
trademark background that I like to use.
And you were from, correct me if I'm wrong, Miami, right? Are you from
I'm
Miami?
in Pembroke Pines in Florida.
Pembroke Pines, okay.
Mhm.
So we have a number of Floridians, but I do have somebody else from Australia, and that was Adrian. Not everybody got a chance to meet you. Would you introduce yourself?
Right. I'm from Australia. I don't have a very nice background. It's just where I
Oh,
live.
no, Adrian's in Brisbane. The background there's pretty good.
Looks fine. And you heard about us from Graham, right?
Yeah, well, and on the internet as well.
Okay, oh, on the internet, okay. And Andy Byrne, is that a real picture from you or one that you took or one that you found on the internet?
It's a picture I took when I was visiting my son up in Dartmouth when he was in school there during the fall.
Very nice. Very, very nice. So I'm
So
looking around.
I'm going to have to interrupt you just for a moment.
Absolutely.
Okay. Something that I want to do before we announce the winners is recognize all of our amazing contestants for the evaluation contest. I would like to share my screen very quickly with everyone. Maybe just a moment. Here we are. First, I'd like to say congratulations to Susan Hewitt, Pamela Benjamin, Elizanne Warren-Russell, Andriy Smolenko, Roxanne Hosein, Lou Brown, Ginette François, Jim Barber, and Carl Walsh. Give them all a warm round of applause, virtual or audio, whichever.
Yeah.
Back to you, Lois.
I think, Nick, everybody's here, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Are we ready to announce?
I am ready to announce.
There we are.
I'm excited and proud to announce.
Just a moment. Michael, just a moment. Let me get the slides ready.
While he's doing that, I just want to say I am really proud of this club. This was an amazing contest, well run, and the evaluators were amazing. Thank you so very much for signing up and being part of this contest. You remind us what the best of the best looks like. Great job.
I think I agree with you there, Lois. I really think that all the contestants were fabulous. All the role players worked very hard. We've had briefings over the last few days, lots of emails and messages flying around. So big thank you to everybody who's taken part. So Chief Judge, Michael Alexander, and Lucas, our contest chair as well, and everybody else that's helped. Thank you.
All right, and I would just like to remind our club that we have 2 people that are going to the December 5th event where they are going to compete against 5 other clubs. Yes, there are 6 clubs altogether. And the winner of our table topics were, number 1 was Roxanne Hosein, number 2 was Angela Heath. They will both be moving on to the next level. And the 3rd place was Rosanna Duncanson. So let's give them a round of applause also. And make sure when registration comes out for this event, you register because we want to support our contestants. All right, Lucas, are you ready?
I am ready. I will yield the floor to Chief Judge Michael Alexander.
Thank you very much. And before I go there, I'd like to thank all of my judges who worked very hard and worked their way through all of this for their hard work. And of course, you're stuck being anonymous. But everybody owes a certain debt of gratitude to the people who did them, whether they recognize it or not. So ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to announce our 3rd place winner, Roxanne Hosein. And our 2nd place winner, Louis Brown. And the winner of first place. This is when everybody asks for a drum roll and I get so darn tired of it. So I'm not going to, but our first place winner is Andriy Smolenko. Congratulations to all three of you. And with that, I will return the floor to Lucas.
Thank you, Chief Judge. I have a couple thank yous to run off here. First, I'd like to say a big thank you to our test speaker, Haven Tristan Hash, our Sergeant at Arms, Mafazur Rahman, our Zoom Masters, Nick Lakhani and Christian Ramchern, our Toastmaster of the Day, Lois Margolin, our timers, Graham Cairns and Emily Thompson, our ballot counters, I believe it was Christian and Sarah, our anonymous judges, and our Chief Judge, Dr. Michael Alexander. I will now yield the floor to our online presenters president, Nick Lakhani.
Thank you very much, Lucas. Thank you very much, everybody, for today. Don't forget, we had a few people as well backing up. We had Elaine, and that's the only one to think of. I'm sure there were a few more that we've forgotten, but we'll get it all on video, I promise. Now, today we've seen this wonderful evaluation contest, and wouldn't it be great to do this every year? Hands up would like to do this every year. Yeah, well, I think Andre would. Look, he's ready for breakfast. He's just cleaned up, hasn't he? Look, everybody did very well. Wonderful. Well done to the top three. Well done to all 9 contestants. Well done to everybody. They move on now to the global event on December the 5th, which we're not going to talk about anymore today, but we will from next week, every week. Don't forget to sign up for next week's event, next week's meeting, and the following weeks as well. Let's get the practice in. There is a speechathon on Saturday, 31st of October. I believe we still have a couple of spots for that. And don't forget, just come back next week, show up, learn something new, and have fun doing it. I'll close the meeting now, and let's have a little chat afterwards. Thank you very much, and good night.